Hey there, it's John from Tiny, and in this video, I'm going to show you the LMS starter config for TinyMCE. So we put together all of the layout and config options you need to jumpstart your LMS rich text editing project. You can use this whether you're building your own LMS or if you're extending your existing LMS and just want to add some rich text editing capabilities. Either way, the LMS starter config is perfect for adding rich text editing to your LMS. Now, we've also created a ton of other starter configs for specific use cases. If you just go to tiny.cloud and click on solutions, you can see all of them. Okay, so the use case that we chose within LMSs for the starter config is a content creation use case, but the config can easily be adjusted to do any other use case within LMS. For example, an assignment editor for doing homework, or even a collaborative editor for group work. Okay, let's take a look. At the top here, you'll see the signature TinyMCE toolbar, which lets your course creators or students do all of the key core functions that they'll want to do while editing. There's also the menu bar at the top, which gives them a bit more depth into some more detailed functions that they can access. And because learning content can sometimes be a bit long, we've enabled the sticky toolbar, which lets your users scroll and maintain that toolbar at the top. To create a more immersive editing experience, we've also included the full screen editor mode. And to preview content, we have the preview plugin enabled here as well. Now, one of the things that really matters a lot to users of LMSs is being able to be expressive and creative. So we've added a lot of creativity tools to this starter config, so your users can do just that. We've got a lot of the basic formatting tools, as well as some more advanced ones like checklists, embedding media. We've also added subscript and superscript, as well as a character picker, and the ability to do block quotes. Let's take a look at some of these in action. So if I want to just embed a YouTube video, I can just put the URL in there, hit enter, and it'll automatically create an embed. Super fast, super easy. We've also got checklists here, which can also be super helpful for students to track which topics they've covered or tasks that they've done. Something else you might be thinking about with your LMS is what kind of automations can I use to improve my users' productivity, whether it's the course creators or the students. Well, we thought of that too for the starter config. We included Power Paste, which enables a clean copy and paste experience from tools like Microsoft Word, Google Docs, and Microsoft Excel. So what I've got here is a fairly complex Microsoft Word document with headings, tables, table formatting, and images. And I'm just going to copy that from Word and paste it into TinyMCE. TinyMCE lets me choose to remove the formatting or keep it. I'm going to keep it in this case. And there is everything with all of the exact same formatting that was in Microsoft Word. Now, if you're a developer, you've probably seen a lot of the extra code and styles that other apps can copy over into your editor. And that can really bloat up your database and make it tricky to format that content later on down the road. So what PowerPaste also does is it strips out all of the unnecessary code from the content that's being copied into the editor so that it's clean and it doesn't take up extra space in your database. Now, something else you'll probably notice in the starter config are these merge tags. These can be used to place placeholders in your content, so when the content's rendered at a later date, those specific pieces can be dynamically populated. That can save your content authors a lot of copying and pasting and duplicate content that they have to maintain within your LMS. So I'll give you an example here. I can add a merge tag just by going on this menu, clicking this little drop down here, and adding a course name, for example. Super easy. And once it's added, you can delete it, but you can't modify the merge tag itself, which will prevent errors down the road. Okay, now talking about collaboration. Education is a collaborative experience for everyone, so we've included a couple of key features of TinyMCE in the starter config to support collaboration. The first one is comments. So comments can be used if an instructor wants to leave feedback on a student's work, or if a couple of content creators are just discussing a draft piece of content that they're going to be publishing to the LMS at a later date. All you do is you open up the comments pane, type in the comment, and you're all set. They can also do threaded conversations where the student can respond to the instructor and they can have a conversation in the right-hand side right there in the document. TinyMCE also has a feature called mentions, which isn't shown in this starter config because it requires a bit more configuration, but check it out if you want to be able to tag people in the content. Okay, lastly, compliance. We all know the education space has a lot of rules, and for good reason. We want the content to be easy to follow and accessible. So in the starter config, we included accessibility checker, which will go through the content and highlight any issues that may be a concern from an accessibility perspective. This can help your LMS comply with the policies of the educational institution that you're working with, as well as local or state jurisdictions. We've also included Spell Checker Pro, which will highlight any unknown words in the editor and provide suggestions for replacing them. You can also add your own custom dictionaries to Spell Checker Pro, which can be really useful for really scientific or academic content that maybe a normal spell checker might not know about. And lastly, maybe you want to apply some language rules to your content. So for example, maybe you don't want kids putting swear words inside of your content. You can also configure text patterns to replace any words that maybe you don't want in there with replacements. So let me type in this word darn it here, and it will automatically replace it with an emoji. You can configure it however you want with whatever words you want, but it's a good way to keep things clean. Okay, that's it for the tour of the LMS starter config itself. Let's do a little bit of a code walkthrough now. When you go to get the starter config on our website, you have two options. We have the starter config without code tips and with code tips. With code tips is great if you're new to TinyMCE and you want to learn a bit about what each configuration option means. We've included comments throughout the config with links to our help docs as well. Okay, so on the left, I've got the starter config, and on the right, I've got the same demo. So at the beginning here, we just include TinyMCE, and then we define the tokens or the merge tags that we want to use. For example, student name, course name, assignment name. Next, we select the editor by its HTML element, in this case, an element with an ID of editor. We add all of our plugins, define the toolbar, and then we remove the status bar from the bottom because we want to create a really immersive editing experience. We make the toolbar sticky so that it sticks as we scroll, and then we set a max width on the video embed. That's a great practice if you don't want the video to be bigger than a certain size in your LMS content. Here we define the block formats that the user can use from the format dropdown. And then in this case, our LMS uses a special font that's available on Google Fonts. So we've included that here using font CSS. For the accessibility checker, we can specify different levels of accessibility. For example, AA, A, or AAA. And then also what kind of HTML schema we want to check against. And here is where we define the non-editable regular expression, which allows us to do those merge tags here. Next up, we define those text patterns that I was talking about that allow you to auto-replace some words or some characters with either short forms or full-on replacements. And what we have right here is the code to add that custom merge tags button, which we can see right here. The button's added using an SVG image, and the functionality of what it does is built in right here. Next up are the comments config options, so who the user is and what their display name is. And lastly, we specify the content style, which is the styles that we apply to the contents that are added to the editor, basically giving us the ability to style the contents of the editor based on what the user will see when the content's actually rendered in the LMS. And the rest of it is just basic HTML and CSS and the sample content that we've included in the demo. Okay, so now you're all set to add rich text editing to your LMS. Head over to our website, check out the LMS starter config, and add it to your app. Of course, if you don't have an API key yet, sign up for a 14-day free trial of TinyMCE to get your API key enabled with all of the premium features shown in the LMS starter config. We have tons of content on rich text editing in LMSs, so be sure to check out our channel on YouTube and head over to the blog for more information. Good luck.